everyone. So only Jill and I will be speaking at first. If you have a question, if you could use the little chat feature, and then once we open up with the question and answers, we'll open up all the mics. But it's been our experience that works best to reduce the amount of background noise. So on time identifying which user you are. When you start talking, then I'll know which one it is. I'll mute everybody else. You want to go ahead and start?
I'm having a little trouble logging on. So if you'll give me just 1 second.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited about rolling the portal, and I'll let Bob describe that in full here in just a moment. But what we wanted to do today is to take you through what we feel is a very easy ordering process for obtaining the menu board panels for your static menu board. And this is a pretty easy and to me a system like we have worked through a lot of different scenarios. So whether you have bundle pricing in your restaurant or you have, flat pricing only, there's an opportunity to address that. We have changes to the portal here in the past week based on some that were recommended groups that we spoke to in the 2 sessions before this one, and have updated the buffet area so that we can actually have more spaces for those of you who offer brunch or breakfast or several premium bites. So we have plenty of opportunities to customize your boards. It's not only on the buffet panel, it's on every panel. And you'll see as Bob goes through that we tried to create a system that is your needs for customization, and of course the important thing and the reason why we're doing this is to balance the requirements that have been handed down by the FDA. So we feel we've got a good compromise here. As we go through the session, jot down your questions, or as Bob says, if you look in your lower right screen, you'll see a little window, and you can just type in a question there. If you want to send it, only to me or only to Bob, feel free. If you want to send it to the whole group so that everyone can see your question, then that's as well. I'll let Bob update you on if the portal is indeed live and ready for orders, but you are able to kind of sit down and spend some time with this. I hope you'll agree that it's super easy, pretty intuitive, and once you kind of get in and go through it, it's just like riding a bicycle. You've got you'll be on your way for not just creating the menu boards for this rollout, but as you get into 6 months down the road, you want to change prices, you'll be able to easily go in and update your existing boards with recreating everything that you're doing this week or next week. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Bob. We'll go through this presentation fairly quickly but thoroughly, and at the end, we'll do Q&A so we can address anything that you think of during the meeting. And then, if we hang up or if you have to hang up and go tend to something in your restaurant, please do. And then just feel free to send us an email after the fact and we'll help you out. So, Bob, you want to get started?
You bet. Okay, like Jill, we're going to try to move at a pretty quick pace. That's not to rush through it, but that was plenty of time for Q&A on the end. The other thing is that we're going to try to have this presentation up on the portal. There's another little video on there right now that goes through some of this, but we're going to record this one, and you can here to help, so just let us know. So here's kind of the agenda. We're going to do some basic navigation, talk about static panels, spend more time here on the customizable build your own panels, and we'll build one, and then we'll concentrate a little bit on this buffet and beverage panel because that's the most complex one, and just a few tips, and then we'll get to Q&A. As Jill said, there's a few things that are programmed. We finally got programming time with the programmers today. They're working on it, so I'm not sure if everything is up yet, but by today should be. You log in and create panels. There will be a couple of options that won't be available on some of the panels, and the new buffet or the buffet panels needed some calorie information on it, so we did everybody placing buffet orders until that language is on there, and like I said, by the end of the day, it should be on there. So a quick overview of the site. Here should have received an email with a username and password. Put that username and password in here. Keep in mind that the password is case sensitive, and so you'll get into the site. Once you're into the site, you'll see these. This is the base navigation over here. There's a little bit of information here on the videos. There's a video here if you wanted to get a refresher. You can always go back there or send us an email. So navigation is items for order. We're going to cover that last because that's where most of the action takes place. There's the FAQ panel here. Some frequently asked questions. You can look at those, or if you want to submit a question, then we'll take a look at it and respond. I think the emails we've been sending out always will say menu board alert. That way, later on, you can do a search by subject, and they'll all be grouped together because as we make any kind of changes or additions in the site, you may, not get to them for a while and come back. So anytime you see, from JPS, it'll say menu alert in the subject line. The other piece beside the FAQ that's on here is this history. And the order history just gives you, we'll have a history of the orders that have been placed, and when you click on the view orders, it'll have the panels that you've placed an order for before. And you can go in there and then select that, and it'll give you a chance to modify that panel. So this can be important later on as you build the 8 or 7 or 10, how many panels you're going to build. Later on, you can come back, and if you're going to add a menu item, change your price, do whatever, you can just go to that panel, open and modify it, and then resubmit that order, and you'll have an updated panel. The other piece of navigation here is this update profile and password. We had some store information, contact information that we preloaded for you. If any of that's not correct, you can just go in here and change that. The other thing is all the passwords were a generic password. If you want to make your account more secure, you could change the password if you like. So you have to enter it in here and forget your password. We can see your password, but we can also reset it. So you have to send us an email and we'll reset it for you. Anyway, that's the update the profile and password. So let's get into the meat of things. Here in the items for order, we'll talk about different kinds of panels. So the first ones are what we call static panels. And if you read this language here, you'll be able to select some different things and customize some of these panels, but a few of them are static, which means you can't change the content. So we have this pretty important note here that the square panel is required by the FDA. You have to select one of the, well, it says 3 options here. We just added a 4th option, and I'll show you those in a second. And so let's start with kind of the big picture in mind. You received a marketing deck, I understand, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and this was in here. So this is the fixture here looks like this, and what you're going to be doing is building each of these panels to insert in those in the menu board. One of the things, and I'll circle back to this here in a minute, is some fill messages that we'll talk about that. But you've got some event information here, and then these other panels. I just saw one of these for the first time last week. There is a pretty cool design where it's very easy to get these panels in and out. So on some of these, you could possibly even swap them out on a pretty frequent basis, maybe even daily. But in the center here is a big magnetic panel. It's 4.5 inches tall and 80 inches wide. And this has some of this information that Jill talked about in terms of whether you bundle items or not, and then some of the standard language here in terms of calorie counts, and then some information about how the steaks and things are made. There's 4 different menu options. The descriptions are here, but part of the navigation of this, every one of these items, if you hover over the item and actually click on it, it'll open up an example of what that item is. So this first option talks about the salad, baked potato, steak fries, and dinner roll. Go to the second one here. It's a little bit different. It talks about baked potato, steak fries, and buffet. It's whatever is appropriate for your store. All entrees served with buffet. See buffet for calories. And the one we just added earlier this week is all entrees served with a cold buffet. See buffet for calories. So you need to select which of those is appropriate for your store and make sure that's one of the first items that you do order. And when you order something, you just select. You can order up to 3 of any of these items. You say you needed 4 for some reason, then maybe just place an order for 3 and then come back and put 1 more in your shopping cart and place an order for 1. So they call static. So you can't really customize those. The other 2 static ones are at the bottom of the ordering panels here, and they come with a white wet erase pen. One of them is daily features, so you can put this in. Use the white erase pen that comes with it, and then using just a wet cloth can erase that. So there's one that says daily features. The other one says lunch specials. And again, both of those come with a pen. And later today, you can order additional pens if you want to have an extra or a spare. But if you order both these panels, you'll end up with 2 pens. So when one runs out, then you can come back and order another one at a later time. So static. There's no customization done on those. So what we're going to do is just quickly walk through each of these panels and kind of what they look like, and then we'll build a couple. So here's kind of the basic panel terminology. And as I said, if you click on one of these, it'll give you what it looks like. So the kind of the basics here are the panel will have at least one, what we call a header. So some of the panels will have 1 header, and some of them will have 2. There's an optional graphic on most of the panels. There's the menu selections. You'll select those in the order that you want them to appear, and then that's tied to the calorie count. And then you'll be able to go in and enter your price point. So the dual panel here, it's got both chicken and seafood on it. And at the bottom are these filler panels. And the filler panels will have a couple of purposes. One is if you, let's take this panel here. We call this a combination panel, which means it can be chicken and seafood. It could be chicken only, or it could be seafood only. So say chicken only and you only offered 3 menu items, that leaves a lot of black space here at the bottom, okay? And so what we wanted to do is to have something that would fill that space up. So Jill has created, I believe it's 7, and I think we may have added another 1 or 2 with marketing message or filler messages. Now, what those are when we build one of these panels is say, don't miss our Friday night buffet. So let us come back to that, and then Jill will talk kind of about the strategy, what you put there. So we've got chicken and buffet as a combination panel. Legendary steaks is example. Some of the panels, the header, there's multiple choices of headers. Like on this one, it can say legendary steaks or legendary steaks and ribs. And you can select that. And this is an example of what I was talking about. There's a couple of special filler messages. One of them is going to say entree served with buffet. We've added another one that should was part of this that will be live later today. That way, all entrees served with cold buffet. The one that's kind of a special one, lunch. The lunch one, again, you've got header, graphic, all these selections. This one, if you select buffet to any entree on this panel, it will give you the option of putting in a price. And so you can enter whatever price point that you want, and it will appear integrated into this panel. So let's back right quick, and Jill, I'm going to toss this to you in terms of where you envision some of those buffet terminology fill panels to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at your menu board as a whole, you have more or less items than showing here as an example on menu. You may have, for instance, a robust lunch menu, or maybe you really have to focus more on buffet at lunch, and so you have a very small lunch menu. But when you look at your menu board, you'll see that there are opportunities to better use some of the space. So if you look at the lunch panel here, there's a great opportunity there to insert a marketing message, and on that just described that you would kind of on a drop-down menu and select a main message. And the messages range from anything from trying to push to go to promote a premium buffet. There are all kinds of messages there. So a lot of opportunity to drive some sales to a different area if you have the space. And not all of you will have the space to put some filler messages. You've got you have the need. I'm sorry, I'm having some trouble with my screen, but some of you will have the need, depending on how your particular restaurant pricing is set. You have to use some drop-down images for the combination of your buffet pricing or your bundled pricing. And if you do that, I'd love for you to think about this menu board layout. And this is our suggested layout. You may choose to lay yours out differently, but if you think of the menu board as being 4 columns of channels, right? So 4 columns, you would want to only include that message regarding your buffet bundling on one panel in each of those 4 columns. If you look at this example, you wouldn't even put it in that last column because that's kind of a promotional column. So you see the shrimp stations panel there as an example, and underneath is one of 2 run boards that we have where you could say, you know, what are your daily features that you want to offer and then you want to call attention to, or items that you like to run that have not been nutrition analyzed yet, you can run as daily features. But other than that particular column, if you needed to say, you know, all buffets, all entrees served with a buffet, or pricing includes a buffet, you would use that drop down on one panel in each column, and I would be consistent about it. So my recommendation, if your space allows, would be to put it at the bottom of each of the top panels so that it kind of appears kind of in the middle of the menu board, if that makes sense. And you'll see that as we're you know, ordering and as you play with the system, you'll see you have all these opportunities to drop down on your menu items, and the order in which you items on your panel order is the order in which they'll appear. So, and then once you get to the bottom, you go through all of your items that you want to include on that panel, then you'll see those drop-down items, and that appears actually in a fixed area. So if you create a menu board panel, and it's an extra complicated one like this one here at the top of the right-hand the column, so burgers and combos, you see that that's really a complicated panel. And you might have drawn down and added a buffet message to that panel, but then when proof pops up, you'll see that it's actually not appearing on the screen, and it's simply because you have too many items on that panel. So if that's the case, then you might have to think about splitting panels into 2, or you would maybe think about relocating that buffet message to a different panel. And if that makes sense, or in the chat box, and we'll go through it. But you have flexibility to move around your panels if you have an extra lengthy kids menu, for instance, or beverage menu or buffet menu. You've got some flexibility there to create panels that focus only on one category. So when you get ready to place your order, just sit down with your menu, think about how it's organized, and see what your opportunities are to add some of these marketing messages, and then maybe see where you need to a little bit with your listing items so that you can get in some messages that you really do need. The thing I want to point out while I have a little airtime here is I encourage you, even if you have, maybe you have to split up some of your messages into 2 panels so that you've got 7 full panels and you've only got 1 extra block open, and naturally that would go toward your promotional messaging. I want to encourage you to order at least one of those right-on panels, because when we are between events, you're going to want something to put up in that square. And you'll see as we start to progress throughout the rest of this year, we actually will have more time between our events than we have in the past. And you'll see that with Event 3. I don't know if you noticed when I sent out the call to order that there's a longer than usual between Event 2 and the start of Event 3, and that's simply to prevent us from having to analyze all of the promotional recipes. So as long as we're running something for less than 60 days, we don't have to go in and have everything on that menu analyzed. So that gap is by design. So you make sure that you have a panel to put in those promotional areas. And then for those of you who have 6 panels full of actual menu listings and price points, I would urge you to order 2 of those right-on panels for the same reason, that you'll have daily features panel up kind of every day where you change out your opportunities there, but you also want to have an extra panel to put in that spot, in that personal spot events. I'll give it back to you.
Very good. Okay, so let's, Jill's point of starting with kind of with the end in mind is really good advice. So the last couple of these, this other combination panel, it could just be for kids only, it could be seniors only, or it could be for, like here it is, kids and seniors. Any of these that have got any kind of buffet language on it are a little bit more complex in terms of the way they're laid out. And this one has an optional here that I think there's 3 different choices. They're served with fries, and a drink, or maybe a buffet, but you'll see that there's a few choices there. So again, it's a combination panel. I skipped over the burger one. Yeah, same kind of action here. Maybe combo add-ons for custom combos, where this, again, this is multiple things here. It could be just juicy burgers or juicy burgers and sandwiches. There's a click box here if you want to make sure that this line is on there. And then there's a lot of different menu choices for all the different burgers that you all serve. The hidden panel we'll address last is the buffet panel. It's got different spots here to enter information on the different buffets. This is the selections were predetermined on this panel, but some of the feedback we got was that there's much more ability in that. This one could have these panels plus the kids on it, so we're creating a free-form one that would be only, but it gives the flexibility. I think some people said they'd like up to 10 different options of buffets, depending on days of the week and price points and that kind of thing. And then beverages, this is going to have some multiple choices on beverages, and then the ability to add some logos on the for the beverages. So let's build one of these panels. Start that ringing. So we're going to do this Larry Steaks one. You'll have a quantity, and then some of these will be doing a little bit of scrolling. You come down here and go to continue, and pop up with this, and you kind of see the flow. It kind of scrolls. This one's not too long. The beverage one is pretty long. So here you got your choices of the different types of headers. That's that red part at the top. Each of these graphics here, this gives you an opportunity to see what the graphics are and what they're called. But then you'll come up here for the photographic selection. Select, in this case, the T-bone. Here's kind of a tip that makes these things easier to do, is to go through and make your selections in whatever order you have them here is the order that they're going to appear on the screen. So I would go through and enter the selections first to get them on the in the order that you want. Once you know that that's right, come back up here, click in the price, and what you're going to want to do as you navigate around is to either click or to use the tab key. if you enter, it'll start the preview. And the preview is about a minute or so for the preview to show up on the screen. So the first time you hit that enter, it's kind of a pain because you have to wait for it to complete. We're going to enter some prices in here, and for consistency's sake, I think the styling of this, the zip made not use dollar signs. So just quickly go through and add your price point. You come here, and this does have a filler message. Here's the messages just talking about. You have legendary wings, get it to go, catering, gift cards, breakfast buffet, seafood buffet, premium buffet, and then here's these two entree selections that we were talking about. So on this one, we select this one. That's the footer that'll say all entrees served with buffet. Or if we add this, add a buffet to any entree, then we need to put in a price point of some sort for it to be integrated into that sign. So then you'll want to hit preview. And like I said, this takes about 60 seconds to generate the preview, kind of depending on what the choices are. The preview is it's a proof. Okay, no one is going to proofing this for you. Once you submit it, it's set. We'll print it. It'll go to a shopping cart, and so once it's in the shopping cart, you'll have one chance to make edits if you want to, and so you're able to do that. But kind of making an exclamation point that once it's in, no one else is making this at all. You can see the header. We selected this, and then we have all these selections here, and you can kind of see where our add-on price was plugged into this graphic. So if we wanted to order that, we'd select order. It would go into a shopping cart and continue, and we can continue shopping. But if you say, oh my goodness, I made a mistake. Look at all these are the wrong price. Click on modify, and when it takes you back into that screen, you don't lose all your entries. You can go and then you make whatever changes that you want to make. If you forgot an item, you can add that item, make those changes, then preview it again, and it previews the last step every time because we want you to feel comfortable that what you see on the screen is what's going to print, and that's what you're going to get when you get it. So through, double check that our changes were made, and then we're ready to order. So that's how this screen made. If you have an item that got multiple headers, as you scroll down, you'll see what's called header 2, and that will make that panel a combination panel. So if you want to put chicken and seafood on the same panel, then you can do that. So we're a little behind schedule here time-wise, so what I'm going to do is address this Fresh Flavors Buffet beverage because it's the most complicated panel. We'll select Continue. Here we can either put beverages on top or Fresh Flavors Buffet on top. And so when you do that flexibility, it gives you the choices of both on both the top and the bottom, which makes the order screen kind of long. So we're going to choose put the buffet top. Either select no photo buffet or the buffet. I give a tip on this one. If you're trying to get both items on the screen, you're not going to have room for a photo. And so if you create a menu panel and you look at it and there's too much stuff going on there, then you'll do some decision making whether to forego the graphic, whether to split it into two panels, whether to forego the marketing message at the bottom. There's a few different strategies in terms of shortening those panels. So these panels here are predetermined, so you can select whichever one you in this case, do lunch. These panels are free-form here, so if your lunch buffet runs until 1 p.m., you can change that. You can change this. You can edit this. It's editable, and then you can put in a price point. Do the buffet here. Again, the price point. And if you want to add additional ones, seafood. Then you can make whatever changes you want to make in there. And then put a, okay, so there's up to 4 of those. And then no kids buffet, or if you click on kids buffet, it's going to give you some suggestions here. You don't need to use those suggestions. We based this on some information we had from several of the stores. And so you can change this information, or you can 3 to 12 here. And then if you get rid of this by just hiding it and backspacing it, all that out. And so we'll put a price in here of $6.99. Okay, so scroll down. Here's all this beverage information. We didn't select the beverages because have elected to do the buffet here on top. So now we're going to keep on scrolling. Now we get to header 2. So this is going to be on the second part of the screen. Again, combination could be buffet only, could be only. This one we're going to do a combination. We're going to choose beverages. We're going to skip over all the buffet selections, and then we're going to select the beverages here. One of the things that's being updated, I had hoped it would be for this webinar, but evidently it's not quite yet. There's going to be fountain sodas, a regular size, and then a large size. Also, same thing with iced tea. So we'll make our strategy here of selecting the choices, and then we're going to click through and add the price points. And one more here, 179. They're all the potential soft drinks, and these are in a specific order so that as you select them, Pepsi and Diet Pepsi will be in combination, but it will go in this type of a flow. What you're going to do is you can select a large size. If you have very few, I would say probably in most cases that large size logo is probably not fit very well on your panel. I would start with a small size and then select anywhere that you want. I understand that most people have got fountain heads plus a few others, so we're going to select a few of these, and it's just a matter of clicking on the ones you want. And then again, it's got a potential for a filler message here, and then we're going to preview this and see if this looks like what we want it to look like. All right, let's take a look and see how this looks. Spacing looks nice here, and the fountain, the drinks look good. We could say we go back and modify this. If we had a few more logos, or add other selection here, which may make it too tight. One of the changes will be some language that looks just in this same type font here in the middle that says "See Buffet" for calories, which is it will make it FDA compliant, and so by the end of today, that will be up there, and you'll be able to actually order these panels. So I'm going to take it one step further, just to kind of show a couple of quick items here. We're going to say order, and it will to our shopping cart. You need to leave and go do something and then come back and you log back in, the items will still be in your shopping cart. You can kind of see we've got a few different items here in the shopping cart as we've done some tests. Again, you can go back and continue shopping, go through and update the quantities by checking the quantities here and then clicking Update Quantities. If you take a look and say, oh goodness, now I realize I've done something, you go back and modify this panel again, so it's no shakes. You've got another at it. But then you go to proceed to checkout. I just wanted to show you a couple quick things with that. My Wi-Fi is running a little bit slow today. Okay, so go through a process like this. The information in your account will pre-populate the field here. Again, you can change that if necessary. If you don't check this box and you click Next, a similar type screen will open up for you to enter to information. So we have more than one store. You receive the login for every store. I think probably the best strategy is to log in as that store, because then you've got the panel saved by that store. You'll be able to ship directly to that store. But say you didn't want to do that, log is where store, and then made selections. You could click on the don't check this, and could actually have those items shipped to that store. Once you say ship to, say next, it'll skip the shipping information screen and go directly to the shipping method screen, which allows you to select types of shipping methods. Most of you are in a 2 to 3 zone from Dallas, and so we should be in fine time. Just check ground. If for some reason you want to expedite, which I wouldn't recommend unless you've waited till the last minute or something, you can select this, but it does tell you how much it would cost. Click Next. It'll give you a chance to put in your credit card information. It'll give you an order review. That's kind of your very last shot to take a look and make sure you want to, if you change anything, any quantities or whatever, you can edit at that point. And then at the bottom, then you'll click on a button here. It'll say Complete Order. So for that to process, and pop up and say thank you, and then shortly after that, you'll get an email confirming the order with what you ordered. At the very, very bottom of that is a little bit of credit card information that basically serves as your credit card receipt. And then from there, we're off to the races in terms of actually producing these. I want to go back quickly to our there's in the handout that you received, there was a few things for some tips, and if you read over that, that might make it easier to create these panels. And like Jill said, if you start with your panels and take a look at each panel, start with the end in mind, and then create the panels, then that should be a little bit more successful way of putting things together. So what I'm going to do is I'll let Jill kind of finish up some things. He's doing that. I'm going to unmute everybody. If you can try to keep the background to a minimum and just one person speaking at a time, that probably makes it easier for everybody to hear. So I'll start unmuting, and then you want to make some last remarks here?
Absolutely. First, as Bob said and I said earlier, do start with the end in mind. Just scout what you want to create where you sit down, and that will definitely make it a lot easier. And, obviously you can refer to this image that is, if you'll look at the deck that I sent out, it was with the marketing bulletin that I sent a few weeks ago, you'll see this image in there, and that might help you kind of organize your thoughts. I want to reiterate what Bob said about your log-on. So if you, and I can't tell who all is on the call, there are a couple or several that are not fully identified, but you're a multi-unit operator and you're going online to order panels for multiple stores, obviously log in and order panels for all the stores with one login. If you do that, you'll have a situation where you've got all the menu boards together in your one in place, which is good for you, but will you be able to tell which one is which for which store? My recommendation would be to log on for the store itself at your store's actual login, and then when you log on in 6 months to change prices, if you log on as that store, then all you have to do is just get order history, pull that up, modify those existing panels, and you're done. So it makes your life a lot easier in the future if you log on at the store level. If you get stuck while you're ordering or need to think about things differently, or if you have questions for us, then email us. I will be on the road the next 2 weeks. I hope to see you all at the regional meetings. So email is best, definitely easier to reach that way. You can also reach out to Tiana. She is a pro with this as well, and we can get the help that you need. So if you're stuck, don't worry. With regard to timing, just, you've got 2 weeks to place your orders. I would definitely encourage that you do it soon while you've kind of got this training session fresh on your mind. And then also if we needed to create or adjust something for you to make it work for your particular store, then would have time to make that happen. But bottom line is we need to get all the orders in by the 14th of April in order to guarantee delivery by May the 1st so that you can get everything installed by the start date of the 5th. Let's see, we've talked about the buffet add-on filler messages if you need that. The display panels also have they have all the copy that you need. So several options there. You have to choose one. It's a big part of what the government is requiring us to do. And so, yeah, if you look at this, you'll see that there's a line copy that's specific to us. So our brands are that first line there. Okay, we serve our meals with the items, and these items have X number of calories, and you'll see a range there, 90 to 410 calories for the garden salad, baked potatoes 270, and that as served or per the recipe. The garden salad is a range because you can have your salad, with nothing on it, or you can load it up with, ranch or blue cheese and stack on some calories there. But that's why that's a range. That bowl there with buffet, you'll see that it says, see buffet for calorie counts, and I'll talk about that in just a second. That second line there is kind of the government mandatory. Basically says 2,000 calories a day is recommended, calorie needs vary, and additional nutritional information is available. And the line, Bob, if you can scroll down so they can see that line.
The third line?
No. Scroll to the right. Sorry.
Okay.
So additional nutrition information available upon request. That's where you'll have printed material that will tell them not just the calorie counts, in something, but also saturated fat, sodium, all the nutrition labeling data points will be provided in a printed format, and we will provide that to you guys. So it'll be for the entrees themselves and then also for all of the buffet items. So that would be kept in a notebook at your cashier's stand, and you don't have to have it, like sitting out for public display. People can ask for it. They would just come to the cashier's stand or ask a manager or ask their server if they could get full nutrition analysis for whatever item or set of items. And you may have some guests who want that. Waiter members are in need of data, so you might have some people asking for that. You don't need to give it to them to take home with them, and you shouldn't. I mean, they can take photos of it or whatever. I mean, if you wanted to make a photocopy, that's fine, but we'll post it online, and then what you have in your store will be for their reference while they're in the store only. So if they wanted linger on that, they could go online and reference the listings online. The other part of this is when we speak to see buffet for calories. A bigger project. So, and I mentioned in my marketing bulletin a few weeks ago that our understanding then was that we would have to go in and do individual buffet ID tags that would identify the item, the serving size, and the calories. And so you were going to have, every item on the buffet identified with its own tag. And so, obviously there are a lot of challenges around that. Space in your sneeze guards, covering up the food with so many tags, and then just the logistics and upkeep of that. And what we've learned since the initial recommendation is that we can use signage that is basically near the point of decision for the guest. So if the guest is in the bar area, they should be able to look up and see calorie counts for the items on the hot bar very easily without having to walk all over the restaurant to find information. So what we're going to do is provide a series of 3 signs at this point. So a sign would be the calorie counts for every item available for the hot bar, and same thing with the cold bar and same thing with desserts. And the reason why I say every item right now is we have fixed a set of recipes that have been analyzed already. You may not serve all of those, and you definitely would not have all of those on your buffet in one day, and that's okay. But what we have to do is provide the guests with the opportunity to look at your buffet and say, okay, that's, chicken pot pie, and if I want that, then it's going to, it's 240 calories for a 3-ounce serving. And they'd be able to do that, make that decision there while they're in that area. Down the road, you will have the opportunity to customize those signs based on what your unit is serving regularly. So the reason why we're not doing that now is because we know that another round of menu items that will be analyzed both at the corporate level, and that many of you have items that you are very passionate about, that you choose to have analyzed through healthy dining yourself, so that you can continue to run products that are, something that you run daily but aren't necessarily on the core menu. So once that is done, kind of the next round will be creating a portal where you'll be able to go in and customize these buffet calorie count signs with some things you've had analyzed, and then kind of pare down that list. But for the start, we'll have everything that's been analyzed, and we'll create signs and send them to everyone. And And what I'm envisioning, and I'd love some feedback here if you, if this is not a great idea, then I would love to get it from you on that. But what we're thinking right now that the best way to accomplish this, kind of based on the different yard styles that are out in the system and buffet configurations, that we would provide basically a nice sign that would hang from your ceiling. And when I say sign, I don't mean this giant, 6-foot long piece. I'm thinking something that's about 20 inches long and maybe a foot high. And we're going to play that size a little bit as we list all the items on there to just make this readable with the number of items that we have. Just hang above your buffet, and it could be kind of on one side or the other of the buffet. One hot bar area, one in the cold bar, and one in the dessert area. So you'll see more on that very shortly. The layout has not been designed yet, or I'd love to show it to you now, but look for more information on that to follow. But one, guys, go online and order your panels. We are sending you, the stuff to get you started for May the 5th. Then obviously you'll need to, go to the internet and be aware of the items that have been analyzed, and if there are items on your menu that are very important to your guests and very important to you that you have analyzed, then you would work with your FBC and Sarah Koski to get those items analyzed through Healthy Dining. The other thing that we've asked recently is that a lot of have local dairies who provide their ice cream and milk. Milk count should not be affected. Milk is milk. It's a commodity. Ice cream definitely would have to be analyzed at the local level. So if you're using a local dairy to provide your ice cream, it would have to be analyzed separately. And one question that we have posed to Healthy Dining, which is the outsourced company that's done all of our analysis for us, something they're doing for us right now is confirming that if your dairy, for instance, has a product label or they're providing you with nutrition data, they're confirming for us that that would be something that you could use in your restaurant. So more to follow as well. To me, it sounds like it should be, definitely acceptable, but I'm deferring the experts at Healthy Dining before we officialize that opinion. So a couple things that you'll still hear more on. This will be an evolutionary process. So you may see formats changing on these buffet calorie count signs as we get deeper into this experience and realize that we could do something better. We definitely open to better ideas. So with that said, I'd love to open it up to Q&A. Again, if anyone needs to drop off and you haven't, gotten your questions answered by the time we're done here, feel free to reach out by email to Bob, myself, or Tiana, or all three of us, and we'll get back with you.
Hello. Hi, this is Terry at Ponderosa in Washington, Missouri. Hi.
How are you?
I've got a question on the headers. Now, are we allowed to order them? Can we customize our own, or do we have to use the ones that are already set up for it?
Ones that are set up, and there are some different options within those headers. Are you seeing something that's on your menu that doesn't fit into one of those categories?
Well, we're just curious because it's not a huge thing, but one of the things was We run ribs as a seasonal item. But they also have steak and ribs, and so we were just kind of curious on something like that. Didn't want to have to pay again when summer came around to put them back up there.
This is one optional ones here. It can say just legendary steaks or legendary steaks and ribs.
Okay, so we have that one option. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you, they're only $16. I was going to say you could order one of each now, but I would wait until summer because your prices may change.
Right. That was the next question. The only other one I have right now is at the very beginning, Bob said that on the step boards, they can't change the panels at the beginning, and thanks for bringing that up for me here online. So basically, if we decide to change pricing 6 months down the road, we just go in, we modify it, but then we have to pay for a new panel, correct? Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And I do want to point out one thing here because I don't want to be misleading at all. I just misquoted it. They're $16 now. It's part of rollout pricing because we're printing everybody's at once. So if you go and order one panel in 3 months or whatever, it's $33 per panel.
Per panel, $33 per panel. Okay.
Yes.
All right, great. All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time. I know that you are very busy in your restaurants. You've got a lot to do, and I know that this is definitely an intrusive process. This conversion to the government is kind of pushing down to us. So it's it's good to provide our guests with information. It's definitely the right thing to do. I mean, if it came out tomorrow and said, hey, we changed our mind, we are not going to enforce this, we would still push this out. We've invested a lot of money to analyze the recipes and to develop templates and buy menu boards. I mean, we've invested a lot of money. We feel like it's definitely the right thing to do. And then competitively, a lot of restaurants have been doing this for years now. So we're excited to be able to do this ourselves finally, and look forward to continuing to provide more and more information to our guests. So thank you again. You guys have a great afternoon. Bob, any wrap-up comments from you?
Again, the site is basically live in terms of getting there, and you can create any menu panel. There's a few options that will be there hopefully by the end of the day today. The one that you probably shouldn't work with is the buffet panel. If we have that, then we'll turn on the e-commerce credit card piece of it, and you can be ready to go.
Everyone, thanks so much.